Hannah didn't like the small county where she had lived since childhood. She had always been eager to escape, just like she wanted to distance herself from Angela. In fact, it was Angela's influence that made Hannah develop the desire to flee from this small town. In the initial memories about Angela, Hannah only vividly remembered Angela's disdain towards her. Angela regarded her as a burden, especially when she decided to give up on a dirty man, and Angela, without permission, settled in her womb, sharing heartbeats and bloodlines. The first time Hannah heard Angela complain was in the autumn of her 7th year, when she was in the 1st grade. At that time, Angela brought her from her grandmother's house in the countryside to live in a cramped rental house on the outskirts of the county. On that evening, after Hannah returned home from school, she conveyed the teacher's message to Angela about the need for book fees and money for school uniforms. In the new millennium, 500 yuan might not be considered much, but for Angela, it was a significant amount. So, with her mouth open, waiting for Hannah's response, Angela began a non-stop tirade. Angela widened her eyes in shock. How many books did they distribute? Why do they need so much money? It's just the beginning of the 1st grade, not even 2 days into the school year, and they're already rushing for uniform orders. They'll make 2 sets for each student, the autumn set that can't be worn in winter. The school is always finding ways to charge more. How much is my monthly salary? I work so hard standing there selling clothes for half a month, and that's just enough to order 2 school uniforms for you. At this rate, it seems like we'll have to do this every year. Who can afford it? While Angela spoke, her hands were not idle, working on a tangled mess of yarn, her after-work sideline. At that time, Angela worked at the only department store in the county, selling clothes. In her complaining monologue, Angela awkwardly left Hannah, neither staying nor leaving, feeling lost. Eventually, Angela stopped talking, stopped working, and got up to go to the bedroom. When she came back, there was a handful of money in her hands, some loose and some neatly arranged. In front of Hannah, she stuffed it into an envelope, sighing, if I hadn't given birth to you back then, my life would be better than it is now. Hannah's heart trembled, her eyelids flickering. It turned out that she was truly a life despised by her own mother. No wonder all those years ago, Angela sent her to live with her grandmother and rarely visited. Since the first time Hannah felt Angela's regret about giving birth to her, in every mother-daughter confrontation afterward, Hannah tried to find evidence of Angela's dislike for her in her actions, language, and expressions. Compared to the mothers of her classmates, Angela was truly irresponsible. She couldn't even arrange the most basic meals properly for Hannah. Working in shifts at the department store, whether it was the morning or afternoon shift, often when Hannah woke up, Angela was still sound asleep under the covers. Initially, Hannah would timidly call out to Angela. She would ask, "Mom, what should I have for breakfast?" Angela would then pull the blanket open, rummage through the bedside table for a while, and then hand over a couple of bills, saying, "Buy buns, fried dough sticks, and soy milk on the way." After saying that, Angela would close her eyes, looking extremely exhausted, as if saying more words would be too tiring. Hannah carefully took the bills, got herself ready, and went out. Facing the warm autumn sun, her heart felt empty, filled with envy and a faint sense of sadness. Her friends would chatter in her ears, talking about eating handmade noodles made by their mothers or dumplings personally wrapped by their mothers. Throughout the week, 5 days of school, others had breakfast filled with their mother's love, elaborate and diverse, while hers was consistently plain and rigid. Breakfast was like that, and lunch and dinner were even more perfunctory. Many times, Hannah had to manage her meals for the day with those few bills from the morning because Angela, working late at the department store, couldn't wait for her to come back and cook. Apart from meals, Hannah found many pieces of evidence of Angela's annoyance towards her. For example, in the 1st and 2nd grades, parents were supposed to read the homework questions, but Angela just handed her a new Chinese dictionary, telling her to look it up herself. If she couldn't find the answer, she didn't care if Hannah didn't complete the assignment and got scolded. Or occasionally, when she left the house keys at school and went to the department store to get them from Angela, Angela would show a disdainful look, asking her to wait in the warehouse, doing her homework, and learning a lesson. Moreover, when she had a high fever in the middle of the night, vomiting and having diarrhea, after Angela yawningly took her to the hospital for N4, she actually fell asleep in a chair nearby, only to be awakened by the nurse, staring at the hanging bottles of fluid. Hannah couldn't understand why she had a mother like this, and why, of all people, she had to end up with her. In those 2 years, each incident built up in Hannah's heart, creating a growing rift between her and Angela. The initial vision of a close mother-daughter relationship, when Angela brought her out, seemed to be drifting farther away, disappearing from sight. Hannah expressed her dissatisfaction with Angela openly during the summer vacation after finishing the 3rd grade. At the end of July, as she turned 10, she had subtly mentioned to Angela a request to go to the city for a day because she had a travelogue essay in her summer homework. Although Angela had initially agreed with a smile, on her birthday, when Hannah eagerly put on her favorite dress and waited to go out, Angela appeared as usual, dressed in washed-out work clothes with neatly arranged hair. On the table, there were 2 100-yuan bills, and Angela casually instructed Hannah, "The unit has an event, and I really can't take a day off. Take the money, go to KFC with your good friends, have a meal, and buy yourself a cake." In just a few words, Angela conveyed 2 messages to Hannah. Firstly, Angela wouldn't take her to the city, and secondly, Angela wouldn't share a meal or a birthday cake with her. In an instant, Hannah felt like an abandoned child, unloved and uncared for. In the heat of the moment, without caring for tactfulness, Hannah hysterically questioned Angela, "I know you've regretted giving birth to me, but it was your decision. Can't you take some responsibility for it?" At that moment, Angela was changing shoes at the doorway. She raised her foot and froze, staring at Hannah incredulously. "I provide for your food, clothing, and education. Am I not responsible?" All the evidence Hannah had collected before about Angela's lack of love now became a weapon for her counterattack. "Other moms would love to make fancy meals. Have you ever done that for me? You'd rather I eat street food every day and die from it. When other kids get sick, their moms stay up all night worrying. Do you have that kind of heart? And about birthdays, I've only asked you once, and you promised but backed out. Have you ever really been responsible for me?" After a torrent of accusations, the small house fell into silence. Hannah stopped crying, and Angela remained silent without counterarguments. After a long while, long enough for Hannah to start feeling guilty and scared, Angela continued her actions. After putting on her shoes, she used her fingers to tuck the stray strands of hair behind her ear and calmly said, "Yes, you're right. I do regret giving birth to you, but I will fulfill my responsibility as your guardian. If you've had enough of this life, then figure out a way yourself. It would be best for you to stay far away from me when you turn 18. That way, you'll be happy, and I'll be relieved." With that, Angela left, and the atmosphere in the house returned to a calmness, as if the earlier mother-daughter dispute had been a dream. Once the harsh words were laid out, the relationship couldn't return to what it used to be. So, Hannah began planning her escape. She thought that perhaps Angela was fed up with her being a burden, which led to her coldly stating that she should leave when she turns 18. Therefore, she started preparing for the grand separation that would happen 8 years later. Putting away her faint expectations of Angela, young as she was, Hannah had already learned to plan for herself. She soberly told herself that if she wanted to leave Angela with dignity, it could only be through academic success. Without sufficient knowledge, even if she left hastily, she might come back in a sorry state someday. She had witnessed too many young people who thought they had grown wings, only to return with downcast eyes. She couldn't bear to become one of them. In the following years, Hannah immersed herself in mountains of books and seas of questions, using each problem and exam paper to fill the emptiness left in her heart after removing her desire for maternal love. Hard work, persistence, it all had meaning. Talent combined with determination granted Hannah the gifts she desired. In the entrance exam to junior high school, Hannah ranked first in the entire county. At that time, she and Angela still lived in a rented house, with no place to display the honor roll. Angela went to the community to negotiate, and eventually, it was hung on the osmanthus tree at the entrance of the alley. That day, Angela smiled broadly, praising her daughter to everyone she met. Hannah looked at her with lowered eyes, a cold smile in her heart. As the days passed, Hannah grew into a young woman, and her plan to escape from Angela became more concrete. She wanted to go to Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Chengdu, anywhere would do, as long as it was away from Jiangsu and Angela. But no matter where she went, she needed money. The funds Angela had provided over the years were barely enough for pocket money. She needed to save for tuition and personal expenses. Angela discovered Hannah's secret tutoring and bottle collecting when Hannah was in the second half of her sophomore year. In mid-June, one day after returning home from evening self-study, Hannah saw Angela sitting in the living room, furious. It turned out that Hannah had left her little accounting book in the bathroom, and Angela found it while cleaning. Upon opening it, she discovered Hannah's little schemes. Angela asked why, and Hannah took off her school bag, saying, "Didn't you say I should leave you when I'm 18? So, I need to save money. After that was a prolonged silence. Neither mother nor daughter spoke again, as if echoing the silence after the argument years ago. Later, Angela handed the little book back to Hannah, leaving a remark, "You just focus on your studies. If you don't do well, even when you leave me, I'll still have to worry about you." Then she went into the bedroom and didn't come out for the entire night. Realizing that Angela was even busier, it was already the winter season. In December, with the chilly weather, the school extended the senior class's evening self-study by an hour. Every night, when Hannah returned home, it was close to 11 o'clock, but Angela was never at home. Initially, Hannah thought it was due to the approaching year-end, and the mall extended its business hours. However, after observing for more than half a month and noticing that Angela returned home after 1 in the morning consistently, Hannah sensed that something was wrong. One night when Angela hadn't returned, Hannah went to Angela's room to look for clues. There, she discovered a notebook on the bedside table, recording information about a factory looking for temporary workers. Connecting the late return times of Angela with the information in the notebook, Hannah understood. Angela was seeking part-time work all over the county after the mall closed. Closing the notebook, Hannah's heart trembled slightly. Without thinking, she knew Angela was doing this to earn more money. But was she saving this money to ensure that Hannah wouldn't come back to trouble her after leaving, or was there another reason? Hannah couldn't figure it out, but there was a slightly softened place in her heart. In these past few months, Angela had doubled the pocket money she gave Hannah, silently providing a sense of security. Hannah guessed that as the day of separation approached, Angela's conscience awakened, prompting her to be kinder to Hannah. As the biological mother and daughter, Hannah accepted what Angela gave. Even if they separated in the future, Hannah believed she could find a way to pay it back. It was a stumbling family affection, an unbreakable blood connection. As the Lunar New Year approached, on the third day of the first month, while Hannah was packing her school bag, getting ready for the next day's return to school, Angela stood at the door of her room and asked if she could accompany her to a gathering with her close friends. Hannah nodded, changed her clothes, and accompanied Angela to the gathering. It was the first time Hannah heard that Angela had close friends since they started living together when she was 7. The gathering took place in a large hotel in the county. A private room was arranged with a large round table, seating 14 or 15 aunties that Hannah had never seen before. Angela introduced each one, and Hannah politely greeted them one by one. When the meal started, Hannah sat beside Angela on the right and an auntie with long satin-like hair on the left. The auntie continuously served dishes to Hannah, her eyes filled with gentle smiles. "Every year, we invite your mom to our gathering, and every year, she declines. Finally, this year she agreed, all thanks to your influence." Hannah was puzzled, and the auntie explained, "Your mom always says she doesn't want to split the bill. If we ask her to split, she feels embarrassed. If she does, she's reluctant because she's afraid of spending the money you saved for your tuition and living expenses. This year, she said she has saved enough for your 4 years of college, so she can relax a bit." Although the air conditioning in the private room was strong, Hannah felt a cold chill all over her body. She looked at Angela, but Angela avoided her gaze with evasive eyes. After dinner, they went to KTV to sing. Hannah busily served various aunts with fruit plates and snacks. When she finally settled into her seat, she noticed that it was Angela holding the microphone. Angela let her long hair down and sang Teresa Tang's "When Will You Come Again" and then Sue Rui's "If the Wine Is Sold Out." Her voice effortlessly shifted between gentle and deep, shining brightly. Hannah's eyes were on the verge of tears. She had never seen Angela, who she remembered as impatient, fiery, complaining, resentful, and regretful, shine so brightly. When the aunt with silky long hair approached, tears had already welled up in Hannah's eyes. The aunt said, "Back then, your mom loved to play, laugh, and have fun. After discovering that your dad was married and deceived her, she decisively left, only to realize later that she was pregnant with you. We all advised her to abort, but she couldn't bear it. Then she lived a conventional and bitter life. We wanted her to leave you with your dad, but she insisted that you were hers alone. She couldn't let you carry the stigma of being an illegitimate child. You don't know how many times over these years she boasted about you to us, saying that you excel in your studies and can take care of yourself." The aunt shared a lot of stories, and Hannah absorbed many details until tears flowed freely. That night, Hannah, clutching her pillow, crawled into Angela's room, insisting on sharing the same bed. She said, "I'm 18 now, and we've never slept together." Angela smirked, shifted to the side, making room for Hannah. In their first night talk, Hannah learned a lot. For example, Angela made her look up words in the dictionary to help her learn study methods quickly. Angela kept her in the warehouse to do homework so that she would remember always to bring her belongings, as there wouldn't always be someone to help in emergencies. Additionally, Angela's sleeping in the hospital was due to the demanding schedule between the mall and part-time work, leaving her too exhausted. Angela said, "I know I nag a lot, but in those tough years, being young and facing difficulties, what else could I do to vent except complain?" Hannah replied with a muffled agreement, turning around to hug Angela, fearing that Angela would notice the tears streaming down her face. At the moment she saw Angela singing at the KTV, Hannah realized that her mom, who didn't need to shield her from the wind and rain, could shine so brightly. Angela could have been anyone, yet she chose to be her mother. Fortunately, before escaping from Angela, Hannah understood this truth, giving her a chance for remedy. Days suddenly became brighter for Hannah. Her focus shifted from anticipating the college entrance exam to looking forward to being with her mom. In the hectic schedule of the second semester of senior year, Hannah playfully suggested to Angela that she wanted her mom to prepare meals in a thermos for her at school instead of going to the cafeteria every night. At that moment, Angela, arranging her long hair, saw through Hannah's little scheme, teasing her about never seriously cooking for her from childhood to adulthood. Hannah, covering her mouth, laughed, insisting that she only wanted her mom's love. In that instant, she resembled a playful little girl, reveling in the assurance of maternal love. In June, during the college entrance exams, Angela took an unprecedented 3 days off. After each exam, as Hannah walked out of the test center, she could see Angela eagerly waiting. By late July, among the first batch of students to receive acceptance letters, Hannah was one of them. Angela joyfully distributed candies in the neighborhood, her smile never fading. In early September, Hannah left home for university, and Angela accompanied her. That night, mother and daughter squeezed onto a single bed. Angela cried, her eyes swollen, expressing how proud she was to have sent her daughter off. In her heart, Hannah silently vowed to study hard, to give Angela a reason to be proud. With this conviction, throughout her 4 years in college, Hannah remained like a wound-up clock, constantly reminding herself to give her best, similar to how Angela had worked tirelessly to ensure her material well-being. In her junior year, Hannah secured a spot for graduate school through the university's recommendation. As she neared the end of her graduate studies, she obtained an excellent internship opportunity at a renowned media company in Shanghai. Over the next 2 years, Hannah successfully rooted herself in the company, earning promotions. In her 3rd year, she moved to a new residence and brought Angela from their hometown to live with her. When Angela arrived at the train station, she teased Hannah, asking why she was eager to separate from her but now so urgently wanted her to come. Hannah jokingly complained of stomach issues, saying she couldn't adapt without her mom's cooking. Mother and daughter laughed together on the square of Shanghai's train station late at night. Over the next 2 years, Angela wholeheartedly took care of Hannah's daily life, while Hannah seized every opportunity, resource, and nourishment the city offered. She applied what she learned to enhance her core competencies, propelling her upward in the company, with her income steadily increasing. Last month, Hannah made the down payment for a spacious 3-bedroom apartment. She took Angela with her to sign the contract. Exiting the sales office, Angela looked up at the sky, her voice choked with emotion, saying, "It's truly wonderful." Hannah gently squeezed her shoulder, whispering, "Mom, thank you. In the future, we will only get better." It turns out, in this world, not only can romantic love be reciprocated, but familial love can also be equally firm and profound.